welcome everybody to GrayManPrepping. Tonight's topic is teaching children situational awareness. And we have with us tonight, we have some special guests, Corsair's trainers, Backwoods Law, and then we have, of course, Uncle Al, Die Bullfrog 79. But Dave will not be joining us because Dave is suffering from too much heat in that no AC house he's living in. So how's everybody doing here?
Doing good.
All right, thumbs up. Okay, cool. Well, let's do a little roll call here and see who all's in the chat here. Scroll back to the top. Okay, Keith Kronk was the first one in. And then Al started talking to him. Mouse Toes came in. They're talking back and forth. Aiden joined us. Dustin, that's Courtney's husband, came in. Tasha, prep for it. Bob 942. And everybody's chit-chatting. Hi. And Gardner Josh is here with us.
Yep.
And I think that we got a bunch of lurkers because we got way more watching than what in the chat, but that's okay. Lurkers, we love you. Hope you learned something and let your friends know. Oh, Zombie Farmer's in the house. Woo!
Hey, Zombie.
Right. So basically, I want to do this here. Let me bring something else up here real quick. When I first started doing this about 5 months ago, when I saw this article here, teaching kids situational awareness of games. If I can get my tongue untied. And this was just a short little blog, and this was done on Willow Haven Outdoors. She contributed this. She's a former FBI agent, and she talks about it. She listed 3 games you can do to get kids looking around, paying attention, and being familiar with their surroundings. Later, I found one here by a former CIA officer, and he's talking about his kids. And he goes through and he identifies several points. And these are points we're going to touch on later on, but identify a baseline. Be aware of your own biases. Be on the lookout for anomalies in the baseline. Don't be an anomaly. Respond to an anomaly or threat. And then he just finishes that up with talking about making sure you're teaching your kids. But far and all, the best one I've come across for this is from a website, Girls Who Fight. And they talk about, the things that girls having to have particular awareness of their surrounding because, unfortunately, girls being girls are targets by some of the scummiest guys around. And so they list several games, observation, scavenger hunt, memory quiz, Lost, grocery store challenge, planet trip, ninja. They go through a bunch of different games and explain how to do the games. So besides what we're going to be talking to you here at that last one, I will give me a second here. I forgot to do it. Shame on me. Oh, man, I can't believe I forgot to do that.
Which one?
I forgot to pull out the so this is I'm going to give you the last link only to it here. This is for Girls Who Fight, and of course that's what says it in the link there. So everyone else you can go to look at that. Now let me get back into this. Start that.
Okay,
all right.
Look over there under GrayManPrepping. That's what you were curious about. That's right there, Girls How to Fight. Right down there.
Girls Who Fight right there. So that's the link. You can copy it, open up a separate tab and just save it and look at it later. Hey, KK. and Courtney are in the house now, and Maccabeus.
Yep.
Anybody else I missed? Nope. Okay. All right. Before we get rolling here, I really want to say thank you to Bruce at Backwoods Law and Steve at Corsair Trainers. I am in awe of our veterans and the stuff they learn and bring back to civilian life. And these two try sharing their knowledge with others all the time, whether on other people's live streams or just commenting on videos and stuff. So I am very appreciative of them being here to share their knowledge with me and all of you. So before we get going, I'm just going to finish up the slideshow here really quick, and then these guys I'm going to let them basically kind of take over, pretty much. But guys, this is important. Share this out because every parent, grandparent, future parent needs to have this in their mind, not only for their kids, but for themselves as well. All right. So what we're going to be talking about tonight, we're going to be talking about the importance of situational awareness, how situational awareness can save your life, situational awareness for adults, and situational awareness for kids. Because if the adults don't know it, how can you teach it to a kid? Am I correct, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
And Steve did a whole series on it.
Yeah, that's coming up. That's coming up, Al. All right, and we will talk about what the situational awareness is here in a moment. Covers all this, and we'll go into this in depth. Steve's channel, Corsair Trainers, there's the link to the channel. If one of my mods out there want to throw that link in there, or better yet, throw this link in for his situational awareness playlist. He has 8 great videos, sort of like 8 chapters of a book going through talking about situational awareness. And he lines it out very good. But we all need to realize that situational awareness is something our kids can know, because I know Uncle Al likes to talk about this, about the be careful going to strange places, because organ harvesting, the human trafficking trade and stuff, it's a sad, sick thing to think about, but it exists out there. We need to be aware at the playground. Playgrounds are not always safe. Restaurants, outdoor gathering places are not always safe. The park, where a lot of kids are, not always safe. Even at the airports, it's not always safe. I don't know how many remember down in LA when TSA lost their first employee down there to a shooting. The mall. And I know Steve did his great active shooter video series about at a mall, which was really great. But kids need to learn survival skills for life, and they learn better with games. It's situational awareness, how to get home, because folks, you don't want to wind up wondering what's in your future and have it be blank. Okay, guys, who wants to jump off of this?
Go ahead, Steve. You did that big series on the adult ones. Go ahead, man.
Okay, so kind of to put it in a box, because I like saying that, I actually have 2 sets of kids. So my oldest just turned 30 on me. The other one's 20 something. I can't remember. And then I have a preteen and a 7-year-old. So I got to see the effects of doing this to the first set of children, who I completely screwed up. And then now I get to correct it all with the second set of children. Right. The place to start with little ones, and the sooner you start this stuff, the better. But I gotta put something else in there. This isn't paranoia. Some people think it's paranoia. Even those videos, the playlist you put up there, I cannot tell you how many people, who I will not use unkind words about, tried to say that I was paranoid, that I lived in some altered universe, that It must suck to be me. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. That's how you do it. Cool. I'm glad you live in a world where you don't have to pay attention, if that makes sense. The best way with kids is games. And I thought it was funny when you said you were going to do this, because just last week we were doing our little vacation thing up there in Yosemite, and I had my older son and the two younger ones in the car, and we're driving, and the younger fellow, the youngest one, he says, "Hey, Dad, can we play the color game?" And I went, "Yeah, sure, we'll play the color game." So the game is you pick a color, and as you're driving along, you try to find everything of that color. Well, of course, the older boy got the game. He's like, "Oh, I remember this. All right." And we were playing the color game. And so again, the idea is you say, I don't know, purple. So everything purple, you got to look out the windows and point at, and you have to say where it is and what it is. And you got to be specific, if that makes sense. You just can't say, "Oh, I saw a purple car." No, where'd you see the purple car, and what kind of car was it, if you know, right? And when you do that with kids and they don't realize they're learning a skill, they think they're playing a game, right? And as we're going along, my older boy's like, "Hey, Dad, I remember doing this." And then he goes, "Hey, remember when you used to teach us the difference between saddles and draws and fingers? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't know navigation." So I used to teach them navigational skills too, doing the same thing. I'm like, "Yeah, dude, you still remember that?" He goes, "Oh, yeah. So if you just make it a game, the kids accept it. And I mean, there's more skills than besides situational awareness for that. Then, so for the younger kids, colors, things, we used to point out things. You know, you got those little games like the, not tic-tac-toe, what's the other one? Bingo. They got the little bingo games, and the kids got to find an airplane. They got to find a delivery truck. They have to find a gas station. And what they don't understand is a bunch of these games are getting them, instead of doing this, they're looking. Yeah. And that's thing one for situational awareness, is get your head up. So like some of the pictures and stuff is, you know, you don't got you're not doing this all day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Steve, when I was a little kid, I was younger than 8. We used to drive to, we were living up in Northern California. We'd drive down to Southern California to visit our cousins, or we'd go to Las Vegas, or we'd go to Yosemite. And we had one of those bingo things. Only what it had on there, it had makes of cars. So you had Chevy, Ford, Studebaker, Hudson, all the.
Wait. Studebaker, when was this?
This was in the early 60s. Early 60s. All right. And I tell you, man, you just like our heads were looking around and everything else, and then we say, "Oh wow, look at that over there on the side of the hill," and we spot other things while we're playing the game.
Right. I used to play the license plate game with my nephews, and I told them, "Do you remember the car in front of us license plate?" And they said, "I don't know. I got $5. I can tell all the numbers and letters on the license plate." This is when I had good eyesight. And they say, "Okay, that's easy, $5." So they stare at the plate, and then I switch lanes and I go ahead of the car and I tell them, "Tell me the license plate. What's the make of the car?" And they look at me like, they get half of it, and they'll tell me it's a Toyota. And I said, "No, it was a Ford pickup truck, and here's the license plate. You owe me $5. Boy, were they mad.
Yeah.
Dave beat me to it. That was the next one I was going to say.
Slug bug.
So the other fun game to play with kids is slug bug. And the best thing about slug bug, or the kids are calling it something else now.
Well, back when I was a kid, we called it beetle bop, no bop.
Nah, there's some. I should yell at her and come in here and tell me what they're calling it. They're calling it something else. But the best thing about that, and actually any training, is the punch buggy. There you go. See, Palmetto's as old as my youngest daughter, so he knew what she was saying. So the best thing about that game is pain, because the fear of pain makes them look around, makes them pay attention. and the delivering of pain to others is an incentive. So I know that sounds odd, and you're like, oh, you're talking about children. Come on, man. He's 7. He can slug me. I'll be like, whatever, right? And it's not like I slug him back really hard or nothing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a new one. Kaylin mentioned pregnant roller skates.
Okay, so that pain reward for failure, it gets them to where they get to playing more, and I don't know, it's kind of sad because there's not as many bugs. There you go.
Bugs.
There's not many bugs down here anymore. So
Yeah.
But I mean, those are the games for young kids. You want me to wait there, or you want me to keep going?
All right, we'll hold there for a second. One final thing. When we used to play in back in the early '60s, it was Beetle Bop, No Bop, and the reason why we actually had to say the color because we go turn a street and Beetle Bop on orange, Beetle Bop on white, as fast as we can. We'd be hitting each other, calling out all the Volkswagen bugs in San Francisco. All right. So, what is for those that are out here that are still waiting for the question to be answered? And here's the question: what is situational awareness in layman's term or military term?
Well, we always used to tell I was an MP while I was in the Army. When we get a new MP out, what we'd first tell them, even though they'd just come out of MP school, they knew all this stuff, which they forgot 3/4 of it by the time they got to a unit. But we would tell them immediately, no matter what else you do, make sure your head is on a swivel. You have to know what's in front of you, behind you, and on both sides of you at all times. Because, we're in the military, you're an MP, and, everybody's in the military here, but there are some people that don't like MPs, like Steve.
Yeah.
So that's where we would start out with them. And it was actually interesting because when I was younger, I was raised in the sheriff's department down in San Diego County. So I had not one dad, I had 2,500 dads. So every time I was getting picked up from school in a patrol car to take me home, they'd be asking me all the stuff like Steve was doing with his kids, but it was deputies doing with me. They'd tell me to close my eyes, and I'd have to tell them which way they were driving on the street. Am I going north, south, east, west? What's the name of the last street we just went over? How many railroad tracks did we go over? And that was like when I was back in the first, second grade, because they knew, hey, if something happens to you, these are things that are going to keep you alive. And I never thought of it as being some big high tech, I'm going to know what's going on. It was just, they asked me a question, so I was doing it. I was 6, 7 years old. It didn't matter. I was just playing the game with them.
Steve, you want to add to that any?
Yeah. Okay. There's not, being aware of your surroundings or whatever, but there's more to being situationally aware. And I know this will get kind of woo for a minute, but I always tell people when I would get new officers, like, you ever walk in a bar and just know that it's going to be one of those nights and not a good one? Like, you're hanging out at the bar or the club, I don't care, wherever you prefer to go. And you're there and you just know, and everybody goes, yeah, I know that feeling. Okay. You got to figure out what a normal day is here. And when you get that, this ain't going to be a good night at the bar feeling, pay attention to it. So it's more than just seeing and hearing. It's feeling it, I guess is the only way to say it. You got to be able to feel that something ain't right also.
Yeah. Along that lines, years ago, when my wife and I were we even married? Yeah, we were. We were in our first year of marriage. We went down to Tijuana. Well, her best friend was down there, and her best friend's husband and stuff, and they were down in San Diego. So we went down, visit them, and we went over to into Tijuana. And I swear, I wasn't there 5 minutes. The hairs on the back of my neck were standing at attention, and something else went up inside. And I'm like, guys, we need to get out of here. Something's wrong. And for 20 minutes, we
froze.
I froze. Yeah. We argued about it. And finally, we all left because they had a lot of things they wanted to do. We were just across the border and not yet back to the car. and we heard screaming coming from the other across the border. Some people got knifed in the area we were at. You gotta, you gotta, there was just things just didn't see. I didn't get the feeling, and everything I was seeing around it just didn't mesh right. I couldn't explain it at the time. Of course, I was highly distracted with my, being a newlywed. But hey, there was that situation that was. I was aware that something here wasn't right. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it just bugged the heck out of me. Try not to make that.
I didn't want to say it.
Too.
You guys made me promise to behave myself, so I figured if I typed it in the chat, it would be all right.
Yeah, typing is all right because we just can't say it because we have about 4 young people in the audience. Hi, Abby. And then we have WD and Carol just came in.
Hey.
So, I mean, honestly, Gil, to answer your question, I'm sure somebody has a definition of it written down somewhere, but the definition's multifaceted. It's taking in everything from all your senses, even your sixth sense.
Well, cool. The other thing, too, is even though Steve and I have been at this for quite a while, every day you learn something new.
Yeah.
You never have everything completely under control. Every day you're out there, you run into a new situation, some new encounter that you run into. And the key is knowing that, hey, I got to file that away up here because that's something I got to remember for the future. If this happens again, I need to know, hey, this is going sideways. I need to get out of here, get the wife out of here, whatever.
Okay, and that's that was one of those points.
Made a good comment up there.
Who? What now?
Grayman, he made a good comment.
When the anomaly.
Yeah, that's kind of going to where you got to know what a normal thing is.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to mention. Baseline. You got to know if areas you go to all the time or most of the time have certain baselines that you know about. But then if you're going to someplace new, everybody kind of has an idea of what something should be like. You go to, if you haven't been to Disneyland before, you have an idea kind of what Disneyland's going to be like because you heard from everybody else about all the crowds and everything else, and you've seen the crowds elsewhere. Or if you're going to some tourist spot, Olivera Street down there in LA, or Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco, or Coney Island, wherever, you have some expectation of what a baseline or what the norm should be there. And if you get there and there's something so outrageously, wait a minute, that should be, you should notice that immediately, be able to notice that, I think, and be able to put 2 and 2 together and say, wait a minute, we got 5 here, not 4.
Before we drift too far into this part, we have to concentrate on the parents and the kids. The parents has to get rid of all their biases because in the past there were a lot of bad. If it has a slogan to it, don't follow it. Because I have to de-brainwash a lot of kids like stranger danger, and they'll look at it's stranger danger and point at Steve, and I keep telling him, no, that's not a concept. It's anybody you don't know. And try to tell that to between teenagers and 7-year-olds, and they're looking at you like, huh? So you got to, parents, you have to work with your kids and talk to them in a calm tone, not panicking. And you don't want the kid to be frightened and grab onto your leg every field trip and pee on it. So you have to keep them calm.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
On the other thing that is important to put out there too, and I'm sure Steve will back me up on this one, is it's not always the stranger that you got to worry about. Many times it's people that they know well and are in their lives that they have to actually be worried about as children. And that's tough to teach a kid, especially when they're really young.
Yeah.
How do they make that discernment between, okay, this is somebody that I can trust 100% and somebody who I need to keep my eyes on? That's the difficult part. And that's where they have to kind of learn where they are and what the situations are that make them uncomfortable, and then be able to build on that.
Yeah, exactly. That I think some of that comes where, for instance, hopefully she's not watching, but the young girl, she said she wasn't comfortable in a situation she found herself in a while back. And I said, okay, I'll just come get you. You know, as a parent, you have to let them acknowledge they're not comfortable and then be like, okay, let's go. But that doesn't mean you get out of everything all the time. I mean, there's just some stuff you have to do, right? But I could tell from the tone in her voice and everything else. I'm like, okay, you can just come home then. Let's go. I'll come get you, right? And then she thought about it and she's like, well, no, okay. Found out from mom later, some of the girls just weren't being so nice to her. So it wasn't a danger thing. It was an uncomfortable thing, but giving her the option that she could just bail. If it was a danger thing, then she could just bail. And they have to understand bailing is always an option.
Oh yeah. There's nothing wrong with turning tail and running.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you got to if something's telling you, yeah, I shouldn't be here, I should go, then just go.
Yeah. Check my things here, pointing out. So with one of the things on the situational awareness for everybody out here, us as adults, we need to learn and practice situational awareness so that we can then teach it to our kids using the games and find out which games work best. Whether it's the Lost game, the 5-step game where you walk 5 steps, or what did you see back there? Take another 5 steps. What did you see back there? Type thing, or whether it's all right now, like, oh, I Spy is a great one for situational awareness.
The youngest boy, he beats me on that all the time. We were at McDonald's the other day and I could not get a point for nothing.
Hey, Martha, we got old school prepper in the house. Yeah. And one of the things to remember with the situational awareness that several of these those websites that I had up there, I was showing at the beginning, were sharing was, in fact, was they mentioned Lost in their stuff, teaching kids to be situational aware when they're going somewhere, so that if they get somewhere and they got to bail from a birthday party or whatever, they know how to get home, or they know how to get to another house that is safe. And that, you know, I'm embarrassed on this one. When I was a kid, I could find my way anywhere. You give me a map, and I say, we're here, and this is where we need to go. And I to take map away from me, I could give you all the streets to get there. My youngest son, he passed orienteering and everything else, but driving around, how do we get here? And it's like, you need to pay attention when we're driving and look at things and take your eye off your damn phone.
This is true. That's not a good idea. That's not situationally aware.
Yeah. And all right, there are some fun, really, to me, really funny videos out there on people totally unsituationally aware with their phone. The best funny one where the lady's walking down the middle of the mall, hardly anybody's in there. She's on her phone and she walks right into the fountain. Big fountain. And she walks and trips and falls right into the middle of the fountain because she's not aware of her surroundings.
Hey, Gil, you know, where to go? Hold on, I got to find it again. Oh, WD Glock and Roll. He made a comment about having kids hug a tree.
Yeah, to hug a tree.
So searchers could find him, and he says it wasn't, if he wasn't sure if it was pertinent to the topic. Yeah, actually it is, because the child would have to be mentally aware enough to realize that they're lost, to realize they need to go hug the tree. So that, I mean, that's absolutely what we're talking about right now, is having that kind of awareness that they go, okay, I'm by myself, things aren't cool, I need to do this. And I mean, dude, that's absolutely what we're talking about for little ones.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Oh, Greg, Christy admits to being like my son. Yeah, it's like, but there, you know, that's one of the things. I guess when I was growing up, we had those bingo games with all the cars, and then we had the one for the state license plates as well. And we played this, so we were looking around while we were driving. And I froze again. And as little kids, that was something that was very educational, I think, for us, because neither my sister nor my two brothers or I ever got lost going anywhere, because we were always paying attention where we were going. And one of the things my mom did when I was a teenager getting ready to take my driver's license, for about a year or so before that, she said, all right, tell me where to go. She'd be driving, she'd make me tell her how to get there. And then she'd like, it was like, oh, we're gonna make a right turn here. You need to tell me a couple blocks beforehand. And so if you're situational aware of what's coming up ahead of you and what's around you and even what's behind you, I think that puts you heads and shoulders above a lot of people out there, unfortunately. Thoughts?
Absolutely. The other thing too is when you're talking to kids, not only about situational awareness, there's also something else that's very important. And they taught us this when we were in the academy, MP school, when I went to law enforcement academy, everything. Your body posture and the way you stand makes a huge difference as to whether somebody sees you as somebody they can attack or somebody they're going to think twice about, and they'll go to the one that's over there reading their phone rather than you, because you're standing up straight, your shoulders are back, your head's down, you're looking around and you're aware of what's happening around you. Bad guy doesn't want to deal with that, because, hey, what if they actually, kick me, or they pull out a knife or something and slice me? I don't want to deal with that. But if I can go over to this person that's sitting there with their face buried in their phone, has absolutely no idea what's going on around them, then guess what? That's the easier target. They're going to go directly after that person, bypass you, because you've got your head up, you're looking around, you've already identified them, and you looked them in the eye, so they know, okay, he knows I'm here, or she knows I'm here.
Yeah. And so, like, if you're walking around, you don't want to be walking around like this. What you want to be walking around as is like this little girl here. She's checking behind her, seeing who's following her and where she's going to. And that's what you need to teach your kid, part of situational awareness part to teach kids. Let's see what we got in the chat here.
I think it's funny that CB is saying that about his dog. I do that too. I know how far each of the kids and the dog can be away from the house. I mean, we got a new house. So I know how far they can be away from the house and be able to get home.
I could be hurting. Force myself. Yeah. It's, there are times where you can be relaxed, but there are times where you cannot be relaxed at all. You need to be paying attention. And I'm going to see if I can pull that up here real quick. Escape, picture. So I think these two people have mentioned this so far, so I'm going to throw this up here right now. This is the Cooper's color code. And yeah. And so basically, I know Steve has mentioned this in at least 6 different videos that he's done on different topics. And I've heard some others mention it as well. And so for situational awareness, if you're in the white zone, you're totally relaxed and completely unaware of what's going on around you. I almost said something bad about.
No, you just cross out white and put victim in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I almost put snowflake.
Or just put a slink, because that's probably the only time you should be that. Is when you're sleeping.
Are you kidding me? When I'm asleep, I'm probably on yellow. I'm lucky.
And speaking of yellow, so yellow is relaxed, but you're aware of your surroundings. So this, as Cooper said, this is the minimal acceptable level when in public or carrying a pew-pew. YouTube's on a tear right now, so I'm being extra careful.
Right. They just put a green spot on my monetization thing for strikes. If you get 3, you lose all monetization, and then they scrub your channel.
Yeah. And then, the next level up is froze again. Yeah, so orange is potential threat identified, and you attempt to verify or evade if necessary. Now, one of the things this is both for Steve and Bruce. On the one article I showed up the second article, the guy talked about, when he's out and about, he's usually somewhere between yellow and orange.
That's about right.
He's looking for the threat. He hasn't found one, but his radar is going ping, 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 and like he's looking.
Yeah.
And it depends on the situation too. Like when I was out on patrol, I was probably on orange about 90% of the time because there's constantly threats around you when you're out on patrol. You're by yourself, you're in a vehicle. There's all kinds of things that work against you to being completely aware of what's happening around you. So I would say when I was out working patrol, I was probably on orange most of the time, unless I was back at the station or I was at our barracks or something. Then I might go down to yellow, but I'm still aware because number one, I've got a weapon on my hip. Number two, I've got the MP Broussard on. Somebody sees that, they just think, hey, I can catch him off guard and do something.
Yo. And just as a side note for, I know we're talking about kids, but for the adults, most people operate somewhere between white and yellow. Most bad guys operate in that orangish yellow. So they're already ahead of you on the power curve most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, when I was a deputy sheriff, I mean, every time when I was out, when we were driving from the station out to our beat, it's like, okay, we were kind of relaxing as we came over the hill on the freeway and got off there in West Pittsburgh, as we were getting to the off ramp, I noticed my field training officer also just sucked it up, and we went from yellow, we went to orange, just because of the situation. And as adults, when you learn the Cooper codes here and behave accordingly, then you can teach your kids how to behave accordingly. If you're in a bad area, if you've been teaching them all about situational awareness, using all the games, I Spy, what was 5 steps back, what color do you see in our type of things, and they're into that enough where you can start getting into talking situational awareness for real as a concept to them. Then they will be able to start using this as well. But you really, I'm trying to figure out how to say this, to be gentle. You don't want to go overboard with the kids to where you're scaring the crap out of them while you're trying to teach them.
Right.
Yeah, no.
You don't just, this is going to war the monsters and everything. No, you just, all right. One of the things that I think, I don't know, you guys, let me know what you think about this. A way to teach them about certain situations is news and YouTube footage of things going south. They see a crowd going on, and all of a sudden you see the fight breaking out. Okay, what did you see? Stop the footage before. Okay, what do you see? What's going on? Play it a little bit more. Play it, and when the fight breaks out, see how fast they pick up on where the fight is, or something bad going on. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things, especially with kids, is they need to be taught to trust their own instinct, because a lot of times kids will get a feeling about something, but they'll look over, and if mom and dad are not feeling the same way, because, well, number one, you're an adult, so you're going to be cued on different things than a child is, but that child may be identifying a threat that you overlooked because, like we talked about earlier, we have our own biases. Oh, that person's not a threat to me, so I look somewhere else. Whereas the child's picking up on, hey, that guy's watching me and knows what's going on with me and has been following us for the last 3 blocks. Whereas maybe you as a dad walking around, you're looking for the guy that's, you know, about your size or bigger that you may have to actually deal with, and you miss the guy that's 5'3" and is watching your kid and trying to figure out how they can snatch him. That's where the kid needs to feel good about saying, hey, Dad, this guy's following us, and not be worried that Dad's going to say, oh, what are you talking about? You need to tell them, number one, to trust their own feelings, and then to let you know as well.
Also, you can use code words too, folks. If your
Absolutely.
kid feels unsafe, you say a code word, you respond, you whip around, you look around. You have to use a code word because they cannot structure sentences. But a code word's easy. Like, Dad, it's red, or Dad, it's blue, or Dad, it's, you know, whatever you decide. It's Mickey Mouse. And you turn around and you're like, we ain't in Disneyland. Where the hell is the person? Because kidnapping is a commonplace in foreign countries. And if you go vacation on, like, God knows where, even like Spain or Italy, you get snatched like that. Because I had to do the same thing with my grandnephews and nieces when the family went to Verona, Italy.
Well, it's even that way here in the States. I don't know what it is right now, but I think, like 2-3 years ago, wasn't it like 50 children a day are abducted? Wasn't it something like that,
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah, it's I get upset when we start talking about that. Yeah.
Exactly.
And not just abducted, other stuff. Yeah. I know when you guys are talking about the kids pick up on the parents. Yeah, big time. I will admit I don't operate the same as most people, so I'm in a different color code for what we were talking about. And my older kids and the younger girl, the younger boy, he's still too busy playing iPads and stuff, but she notices things now and will ask me if I noticed it. Hey, Dad, you see that guy? And I'll be like, yeah, I seen him. What'd you think? And kind of leading in to the bias thing. So when I made some of those situational awareness videos, I got grief because of other people's biases, not mine, if that makes sense. So somebody that had a bias based off of my history and physical appearance put his bias on himself through me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He accused me of using stereotypes in a bad way for people like him. It's like, no, jackass, you did that to yourself. So when you say bias or whatever, yeah, there's good and bad ones. And I like using stereotypes because it's a key word and it gets people to go, wait, what are you talking about? If you see, and I'll say this and everybody will fill in the blank. If you see a gangbanger walking down the street for whatever it is in your neighborhood, that's something you tell the kids, stay away from. And now every adult in here just pick one of them, depending on what part of the country you're in and where you're at in that country. So you picked a stereotypic gangbanger. And in that way, it's not bad. Does that make sense? And it's a shortcut. It's a shortcut to teach the kids. It's a shortcut for yourself. Because honestly, if you see a nun and you see a gangbanger, there's a pretty good chance that the nun is going to mess with you. Yeah, exactly. You guys were like, what the hell did he just say? Because we all know it's not true. We all know it's the gangbanger, right? And that's a stereotype, and that's bad. But where I'm going with this is you have to teach the kids not to hesitate using a stereotype and saying, I need to get out of here. Does that make sense? Otherwise, somebody will use that to manipulate them. Like, hey, I'll give you some candy, you find my dog. And the kids are like, whoa, that's a stereotype, and you're trying to snatch me. And oh my gosh, it's politically correct world. And I better stand here and talk to him. And you say, no, you get the, I'm trying to watch them out.
Yeah.
You get out. And if the kids come to you and say, hey, I ran away from this person, or I was scared by this person because of insert stereotype, right? You go, okay, well, let's discuss this. And you take the time as the adult, that's language break. You take the time as the adult and go, okay, this person's physical appearance, whatever it may be, they had 3 arms, right? 3 arms, scary. Okay, why? What else did they do to make you feel that way? Because not everybody with 3 arms is evil. Why did this happen? You know, you guys get what I'm saying? As adults, you got to be able to take the time to explain
it to them.
it
to the kids very
right,
carefully,
and
folks.
discuss it with them at a level they understand. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, then you probably shouldn't have a license to have children.
Right. Folks,
yes, because
also,
kids speak another language. You got to learn. You got to learn that other language when dealing with kids.
Folks, you have to be very careful. There's a bad trend going on with the politically correct. It's a certain group of people get a whatchamacallit, get free out of jail card, which is going on in certain cities, and they're attacking other minorities. Like this one girl got out of the Marine Corps, Asian, got jumped and mugged and put down 3 African Americans. And then a group of politically correct Karens that say, you can't hold them there. That's not right. Unfortunately, that politically correct Karen was also down on the ground because this girl was just out of the service Marine, Asian, and mad as hell because they were trying to steal her bag and her stuff, and she just floored 4 people on the ground. Okay? A lot of people will go up to it in the middle of a crime and say, that isn't politically correct. And I know a lot of Asians and a lot of Indians have faced this. And we're all looking like, are you, well, I can't curse because there are kids watching me. And I know my Sunday school kids are watching me definitely. And I want to curse so bad like Steve. So I'm going to bleep my camera just for a second and my microphone.
Okay, your microphone's okay, and he's being politically incorrect. But I like what Kaylin here was. I guess CB, they were talking about carrying pictures of those that are, you know, in case something happens, you can say, yeah, this is my parents. These are the ones I belong with. Because I've seen reports and stuff where a kid was kidnapped, and the kidnappers claimed it was theirs, and the other person was trying to, you know, and they got the police to take the real parent into custody and skedaddled with the kid. But young kid really couldn't talk. But if the kid has some sort of like a necklace thing with pictures in, they go, "This is my parent." You know, they can see, oh, that's your parents, not this person. You know, or whatever. Or, you know, if they're flying from, you know, L.A. to San Francisco to see their aunt and uncle, they should have pictures of their aunt and uncle.
Well, you see, in that situation, that was a no-no on the cop because he should have taken them to the station, made sure who everybody was before he did any releasing of anybody.
Yeah,
that's what I would have done. I would say, oh no, we're all going down the station. Come on.
That was in jolly old England.
Oh, yeah, Bobby.
Yeah. But we're not going to be politically incorrect about our cousins across the sea.
Right.
I'm sorry, I had to put that up there because that is a good point. My parents made sure that when we were little, we called our parents mommy and daddy, but I knew my mother's full name when I started kindergarten, and I knew my dad's full name. I knew my grandmother who was living with her full name, and I knew my aunt and uncle who were a couple, miles away in the same town, their full name. So I knew the adults, the core group of adults over me. I knew their full name, and so it surprised a lot of people that, well, what's your mother's name? And I rattled the whole name off. They go, "Whoa, you know the middle name too?" Yep.
Nowadays, it's smart to do is if you have a child that has any type of issues communicating at all, put a little clip on their belt that has one of those little small thumb drives on it that has your name and address, phone number, the whole 9 yards, because a lot of police officers nowadays are trained. If they walk up to somebody who has a communication issue, first thing they're going to start looking for is medical ID badges on the wrist, necklaces, and then they're going to start looking for these little like thumb drives and stuff, because they know if people have communication issues or there's a developmental deficiency, they're going to have something like that on them from their parents, from their caregiver, whatever. So just as a regular parent, if you want to do something to give your kid an extra help when they're out there, you know, and something happens, just get one of those little thumb drives. They're like 5 cents a piece almost. I mean, they're nothing now. And you get like a 128 gig one. You can put their picture on it.
Right.
A picture of your house, a picture of your car, a picture of mom and dad, the whole 9 yards. And it's not going to fill the thing up.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Al.
We're almost at the top of the hour.
Yeah, we're just going to go a little bit longer here. I'm not too worried about that. My oldest grandson, Eli, is now 6 and a half, and he has autism. He's just finally putting a couple words together. However, he knows American Sign Language for a lot of things. I mean, he'll signal go, home, and some of the stuff. I'm starting to have to learn some of the things. He wants food, he wants more, he's done, all different signs and stuff. That's how he communicates with his parents and his special ed coaches, I guess you want to call them. And so it's like today was the first time that his number one coach, one to go works with him at school and works with him at home as well, heard him say his own name. I go, "Hey, Eli," and he goes back to me. He goes, "Hey, Eli, Grandpa." So, so there are some that aren't, "Hey, Homestead Aquarius," that can't really communicate. Sometimes he just says, it sounds like playing a tape backwards when he talks. He knows what he's trying to say, but he can't. His function between mouth and brain is still trying to develop. Well, yeah, we're hitting 5 minutes on the hour here. Any important topics that anybody would like to bring up and make sure we do before we go, if we go over, we go over. I don't care. But any important topics we've been missing? Nope. And blank stares from here. Any questions from the side chat on things? Okay, just for laughs and giggles here, I'm going to see if I still got that there. Okay, I'm putting the link in for one of the websites that had the best games on there. I just put the link back into the side chat. Should be popping up here in a second. There it is. So this one here had I think it was like 8 or 9 games in there listed, and some were pretty good. And then there's other games you can use to teach your kids situational awareness. I Spy. I'm drawing a blank. Bingos. You can make a bingo game like the ones we used to play with kids about things, and they got to find things around, things that they're going to see going from home to school, from home to the mall. You make your own little bingo game, and they got to find the different things on the bingo card. Same could be applied to phone and online communications. Go ahead and throw that up there. Sometimes the situation isn't just in person. The situation is online using electronics now. All right, so we're going to wrap this up here now. And just to give everybody a quick shot of what's coming up here, and pull up the other screen here. There we go. So on my other channel, Camppatton Family Compound, for Friday night on the homestead, we're going to be talking about skills. It's going to be what skills do you still need for your homestead or home or just life in general. but since it's a homesteading channel, I'm going to address it as homestead. But what skills do you still need? And then next week here on Tactical Tuesday is one that is affecting the one person was calling it the silent killer in today, and that is dealing with wildfire smoke danger. That's the topic, wildfire smoke danger, because some of the smoke from the West Coast here is affecting people on the East Coast and everywhere in between. All the particulates and other things going on. And I just saw a video talking about north of Steve, Greenville County is going in flames. So there are things to, that we're going to be talking about things.
Froze again, Disney moment.
Yeah, I froze. Everybody take a drink. I froze. We're going to be talking about, the side effects that nobody talks about from fires. And especially those that you don't have to be locally to it to be being affected by it. So that's what's coming up for Friday and Tuesday. The fire danger one, Steve, I'll be back in California for that one. I'll be back up there in Northern California and magnificent town of the Martinez, California. So any final things? Nope. Any other? I didn't see anybody bring up any questions in the side chat.
Hey, for you adults out there, the book called The Gift of Fear by DeBecker, pick that up if you're interested in any of this stuff. And then another book that got put out by some jarheads, so it's really good. Left of Bang. It's called Left of Bang. It's what they're teaching the fellas nowadays. Not the MPs, the other guys, the real men.
Now, also,
yes, we have some rivalry here between these two here.
Now, Steve also did one on his security system. Was the Rourke's Drift book? Am I right, Steve?
Yeah, that's a series of videos I'm doing right now for security after a bad day, where you can take it and scale it from, I don't know, everybody's favorite one for us Californians, an earthquake comes and all the power's out and we just got to kind of watch the house, and you can take it all the way to Mad Maxville if you want, but with some depth to it, not just I'm going to stand behind this sign and say I'm going to shoot people in the face. And Gil, you owe me because I cleaned up what I just wanted to say so much.
Type it in the side chat. No.
I got to explain to my Sunday school kids.
Yeah. So I don't know, Steve, if you want to come back next week to talk about fires and smoke and smell of what your experience is, and Bruce, if you want to be here too, you're welcome to. So guys,
that I worry about with fires.
Yeah. Well, stick around for a second after I cut this down. So everyone, Doc P, hey, how's it going? A little bit late here, but hey, we're glad you came anyways. So we're going to wrap this up here. And as always, everyone, stay happy no matter what life throws at you. Stay safe. Don't do anything foolish.